Hey there. So I want to walk you through the real estate virtual assistant, what they are, what they do, how to become one. Okay. This is one of the fastest growing support roles in real estate. And this is absolutely needed for real estate agents who are wanting to grow their business, brokerages, teams, people like that who they realize the value, they realize that they cannot do everything themselves. So, what is a real estate virtual assistant or a RVA? An REVA. They are a remote professional who handles the day-to-day admin, marketing, client support work behind the business. So, what you do not do is run transactions, or normally you don't put in listings or run transactions. That's a listing coordinator or a transaction coordinator. Now, I'm not saying that a real estate agent won't ask you to do that. I have seen virtual assistants. I have seen director of operations. I've seen several support roles where the agent does ask them to do those tasks. However, that is not your essential responsibilities. Okay. So they normally do work remote, usually on a contract or freelance, usually hired by solo agents, brokers, teams, or property managers. Normally they're paid per hour. You can be paid per project or on retainer. They are normally paid per hour. And you can see here a breakdown of 20 to 30 hours a week, $15 to $35 an hour. I've seen them work up to 40 hours a week. Not usually necessary if you have the right tools and systems in place, but I have seen them work 40 hours a week. Normally they do work from home or remote. Some of them do go into the office. You can always go into the office, especially if you are working on a specific team or for a specific brokerage. They may require you to go into the office, but they do normally work from home. So normally you communicate with clients through email. You can do chat, video calls, and shared CRMs, but normally it's through email. So what do you actually do? Normally it is lead follow-up. That's responding to new leads that are coming in, qualifying those leads, making sure that the CRM is up to date with those leads. A CRM is a client management system. So you could, potentially have to nurture those leads. Maybe you call them, text them, email them, and you try to turn those leads into qualified leads if they're not. And if they already are, you make sure that they're qualified before you pass them off to the agent. VAs normally do the scheduling. They normally do book the showings, coordinate open houses, manage agent calendars. Again, here, transaction support it's iffy. Depends on who you're working with, who you're working for, if there's any transaction support involved. Sometimes they can ask you to track the paperwork, deadlines, milestones for contract to close. It is a good idea for you to take a transaction coordination course and a listing coordination course, just so you're familiar in case you do have an agent that asks you to do those tasks. If you are working freelance, you can always lay down that groundwork up front and let them know that they do need to hire additional support, such as a TC or an LC, for those tasks. And under that, the listing prep's the same thing. So this would really fall under a listing coordinator role. However, I have seen it done with VAs. And these VAs were hired specifically for a brokerage or specifically for a team. And that team or brokerage had them doing transaction support and listing support, which, if the agent, brokerage, team, whatever, if they are educated on this, they will see the benefit of having these three roles separated instead of together, because one person just simply cannot do all three roles all the time. It works much better if you have them separated. So on to marketing. They do the listing flyers, social posts, the email campaigns for new projects, things like that, new properties. And then again, the CRM management. So they keep the client and lead database clean, current, and organized. Oh my, I don't know what happened to my page here. Okay. Well, skills that make a great VA. Admin experience, customer experience, of course, that is great if you have that. If you have lead management experience, prior real estate exposure, familiarity with Google Workspace, Microsoft Office. If you have, obviously, if you're doing listings, if you do have the access to, or not access, but the experience to input listings into the MLS, writing marketing campaigns, maybe designing, marketing graphics on Canva and things like that. If you don't have a software that you're using, you can always go over and try our REPROS Ops software 14-day free trial. The AI assistant in that can actually generate all of your marketing material for you. It can also help you with inputting listings, not directly into the MLS, but it does have a CRM system in it. It can qualify the leads for you, score the leads for you. It can do all of your marketing materials for you within like 60 seconds. It generates everything that you could possibly need for a listing or a transaction, and it auto generates marketing material when a transaction closes. You can auto schedule to social media. That's another thing that a VA normally does is, unless the agent or brokerage has a social media manager, usually the VA manages the social media as well. So these are all good things for you to have. Obviously, being in contact with clients, being able to communicate effectively via email or phone or text. And then, so the tools of the trade here are, again, CRM and lead management. If you have experience with a CRM lead management software, that's great, such as Follow Up Boss or something like that. Again, that's built into our REPROS Ops software as well. Scheduling, whether it's Calendly or Google Calendar, we do that inside of our software. All of this stuff actually is inside of our software. And then marketing and design. So here you have Canva again, maybe MailChimp or something like that. If you have, you don't even have to have web design anymore to do a website. You can use AI to design a website, but keeping those things up to date, doing the marketing, the design, those things, communication, whether that's Slack, Zoom, Constant Contact, Ring Central, whatever it is, and being able to communicate effectively. And then, of course, the MLS and listing sites and the transaction management, if they have you doing those. So how do you become a real estate virtual assistant? Number one, you learn the fundamentals, okay? You study the real estate basics. You have common terminology. You know the transaction lifestyle. You know the listing life cycle is what I mean. You know those things in case you need them, obviously. And then building your core values. So you get comfortable using a CRM. A CRM is very self-explanatory, usually user-friendly. You put the client's information in and you just you can drag and drop them normally from they're an initial lead or they're a qualified lead. Now you move them to the pre-listing phase, the post-listing phase, or active listing phase, and then you can move them to closed. You can usually inactivate them or delete them, if they're not qualified or something falls through, or maybe they decide they don't want to do anything right now. Usually very user-friendly. So other core skills would be things like Canva, Google Workspace, a scheduling tool. Google Workspace is great. And then getting certified is optional. So courses, general VA certification, you can do those. It does boost your credibility. But even taking a course like this, where we break everything down, is very beneficial because you know what to expect going in, right? So you may not have years and years of experience, but you have the training, you have the knowledge and the basic understanding of it, and you can hit the ground running. And then creating a portfolio, so you can design sample flyers, mock listings, email sequences to show them, what you are capable of, what you have created. If you want to do that and showcase it on a website, it's very easy to build a portfolio website. And then you just upload it all on there, and you can do something as simple as sending them a link. It looks more professional than having an actual portfolio to put together. And then you land your first client. So apply for VA jobs on the job boards. You can look on real estate Facebook groups, LinkedIn. You can do outreach to agents or brokerages to see if they're in need of VAs. You can post, anywhere to see if they're in need. I don't know what has happened to my slideshow here. Anyway, your earning potentials and where to find work. So again, you want to look on LinkedIn, Facebook groups. You can look on Indeed. You can look on, job boards of any sort. Referrals are going to be your biggest driver. So if you are working freelance or independent, obviously you want referrals. You want your agents to put out a good word for you, because word of mouth is the best way to get referrals. And many VAs do start general and then they specialize over time, so they end up being transaction coordinators or social media managers, or have a small team of their own, start their own VA businesses, and you can grow into that the more you put in. All right, so if you are ready to get started, you can usually land your first client within a few weeks. I would say 30 to 45 days, you'd have your first client, maybe even more than that, more clients than that. But definitely get your foot in the door with somebody. Obviously, the sooner the better. And then you can work with them for a little while before you add somebody else. Make sure you have the flow of things with one agent first before you take on another agent if you're working freelance or, independent. And build your portfolio, pitch your first client, reach out LinkedIn, Facebook group, whatever, drop your link to your portfolio that you've built and showcase your work. And then you will be able to land your first client. All right, so if that is, interesting to you and you want to become a real estate VA, I would get started right away.